Yeah, I got a story to tell. I know they want me to fail. If they throw me into a cell, I know wife she paying the bill. Cause I can't afford to be quiet. My city is dying and children are crying. Be alert, not devour. The enemy's prowling you just like a lion. But we got the keys, I promise you. Hold on to the peace inside of you. No, I'm not alone. You're not alone. You got an army who follows you. It's time to rise up, lift your eyes up, yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Darley. Since 1908, Darley has been proudly serving first responders and military with best-in-class pumps, equipment, unmanned systems, tactical vehicles, and defense solutions. Learn more at darley.com. That's DARLEY.com. You serve others, we serve you.
All right. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity. First, just giving you the glory, God. Like you brought this to fruition. You have purpose in this. You have an end game. You know what's good for us, Heavenly Father. So, like, you have brought us here. So I ask that you just infuse this conversation with wisdom. Yes. Let your priorities, your vision, your agenda be what we talk about. May we manifest your thoughts, Heavenly Father, God, and it's the long and short of it. May we be a tool for you. So whatever that looks like right now, Heavenly Father, let's go into it. Bring all things to remembrance, Heavenly Father. Bring the stories that you want to remembrance, Heavenly Father. Allow us to be as natural as we can in this. We're not thinking that we're going to make any impact because that is your increase. That's what you need to do. So allow us just to be just fruitful based on what you allowed us to absorb so far in our lives. So we thank you. In Jesus Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen. Powerful, bro. All right. Reggie McKeithen, Kansas City, Let's Talk Shop KC. We got Kyle Hollins with Lyrics Institute as our next guest on the show. Listen, I've been trying to get a hold of this man, this man for a long time. So one thing, the audience is the youth. Even in podcasting, if you think about just making sure that you're persistent in everything that you do, the Bible says your gifts will make room for you. And so I just want to, just the manifestation of him sitting in this chair, doing some amazing things in Kansas City. This is by way of God and just being persistent. So chase your dreams. Don't give up. Dreams do, or dreams don't expire, as my boy Antoine said, right? And so as we get started, I just want you to do just a basic introduction of who you are.
No, for sure. I'm Kyle Hollins. I'm the CEO and founder of Lyrics Institution. Lyrics Institution is a cognitive behavior modification-based program. We focused on young adults from 13 to 25 that fall into three categories: poverty, criminality, and violence. That's who we serve.
He talk a little fast, don't he?
I do. You the first. Hey, I always want people to point that out. So I can slow down. But
okay.
Like my mind runs 100 miles an hour, so I talk 100 miles an hour. So
you're a little nervous.
Slow it down. I'm not
Not nervous?
I literally watch. You gonna see? Go.
All right, so we're gonna do like a little fun warm up. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Trivia for Us. They don't know yet, but they're gonna become a sponsor of our show. And so what these are is just random cards. You know what I mean? Of just different things from to solidify who you are, right, and how much you know about our culture, right? And so, I'm gonna let you grab one, because I'm gonna literally take your black card if you mess up, bro.
See.
All right, so
I can ask or you?
Nah, you ain't gonna make me look crazy on camera. All right, so name 3 NBA teams whose names do not end in an S. Make sure you do that Jeopardy.
This ain't my black card. Let me move my black card. Let's see. Damn, all in this. Bucks. Chicago. No, it's Bulls. Bullets. I don't know.
All right, I'm gonna give you some. Think about Bron.
He's on the Lakers.
Okay, Miami Heat.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oklahoma City Thunder. We got Orlando Magic, Utah Jazz. I'm gonna give you one more, man, so they don't be making you. I don't want them to pull your black card in the community and you be out there.
Ain't worried about it.
All right, let's see what you got. In 1917, you about to pull out your thinking cap on this one, bro. In 1917, the NAACP promoted what song as the official Negro national anthem?
I don't know what it's called. I know the song though. That lift every voice and sing.
Oh man, he got it. And it says that you got to start singing it. So go ahead, bro. Give us just a little glimpse of.
Nah, let me get my card for you. No.
Right on, man. Hey, so we just want to make sure that the conversation is candid, it's relaxed, and I like this. My production team told me that this would be a good way to be able to just break the icebreaker. You know what I mean? And so, Kyle Hollins, born and raised here in Kansas City.
Born and raised.
Okay. What neighborhood?
I'm from the 50s, right up the street.
From the 50s?
Yeah, 57th in Michigan.
Man, there's a commonality of a lot of my guests. They from the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Did you run with a particular hood or anything like that, or?
It wasn't really it was the 50s. So we were Prospect to Paseo, 59th through 55th. That was kind of my area.
So were you involved in any gang activity?
Yeah. Like, it wasn't, you don't know you're in a gang. You just in a gang, you know what I mean? It's like California where you be like, you about to get jumped into this, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You was getting jumped, you got jumped in like when you was 6, when you was fighting your friend every week, you know what I'm saying? Or every year. I fought my best friend every year for like at least 8 years. You know what I'm saying? Best friend, you know, to this day. So, what ended up happening was I was homeless and, went up the street. I was up on 55th, and there was a house full of boys. You know, they was kind of managing the house, and mom was providing the food. And we had kind of clicked up, and we got real tight, and it's kind of spiraled out to be what the police would call a gang. But it was like we was just growing up. We was all surviving in the house. You know what I mean? It was a landing pad for people that didn't have a place to go. So
homeless.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit more about that, like.
So people don't be homeless. They be couch surfing. You know what I mean? And I started out, like, so when I was 14, I got kicked out when I was 14. And that's what I started. You know what I mean? And then that burns out. And then where you gonna go? So I remember, this is the first day I remember being homeless. So I'm kicked out. I'm going from party to party. And they closing like at 3. So I might crash on the couch, but then people got real lives to live though. So one morning, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, it's snowing. I'll go back to the block because I ain't got nowhere to go. I'm knocking on my mom's door, and like she on the other side of it, like snotting, crying, like I can't let you in. You know what I mean? And it broke me. That was like that. That was that moment, that pivotal day that you remember. You know what I'm saying? And I ended up sleeping in the back of my homeboy's Chevy Caprice, and that's when I knew what like homelessness was. Like really in the cold. In my cohort, bundled up, knees to chest type time. So I didn't really experience that until I was 16, like fully experienced it I was 16, but around that time is when I met them. So I don't know, I just came from that was a different type of struggle. I hear people talk about homelessness, but sleeping in Vacos, sleeping in like trap houses and stuff like that, like that's homeless. For me, that's what I call it.
But it was a conscious choice that you made when you were hanging out with your friends. I'm assuming. Then more so abiding by your mom's rules. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It's a culture shift. You know what I mean? So the way I teach it in the program is just the philosophy I give is you take this young boy, he's raised in this home, mother and father, they teach him love, respect, honesty, integrity. They teach him all these skills though, right? And then he goes outside. And he goes to this basketball game, and they outside hooping in the streets and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, his homeboy, he getting picked on, he takes up for him, and he get beat up, right? And not only did he get beat up, he take up for him, he get beat up, the boy get beat up, right? So he go home, He walked past his mother. He slammed the door. She asking, how you doing? He walked past her, slammed the door. He on Snap. You know what I'm saying? Listening to NBA Youngboy. Then all of a sudden he see the thing on there and getting dogged. You know what I mean? His morals and values have been corroded. And the evidence of it is he walked past his home-loving mother because he was a kid that had the heart to take up for his friend. The integrity is high. There has to be a thought process put into that young person for them to have that high of an integrity to take up for their friend. He does it. Right, but then he walks in, disregards his mom, the first instance of the disrespect, you know what I'm saying, goes in his room, shuts his door. Now it's all being reinforced with the music he's listening to and the beat and the peer pressure and pressure of social media. Like he's locked in, his whole thought process is gone. So, or not gone, but shifted. It shifted in a different direction because now the world is right and my parent is wrong. You know what I'm saying? So that was my story. You know, that's what ended up happening. My mom was a therapist. She ended up running the Amani house, and my dad was everything at Jackson County Jail. So people were like, so how did you end up? It's whatever's right. Like the majority's right. Like we would say that in any other culture. Why would we not believe it in ours? So if you put that imagery and those reinforcers together, that's a cocktail.
What reinforcers? What imagery? What are you referring to?
I mean, like. We already are the highest spending population of people in poverty. Like we fuel the America's economy from 18%. So like the fake it to make it is entrenched in an impoverished complex. So seeing that paraded, like just have the things that look good, you not really rich, but have it make it look like you're rich. You know what I'm saying? Like that was something I had to battle. And then combine that with the hood heroes are the killers. Right? So they're the ones dipped in it. They're the ones having the gun. Like that, like that's the marketing strategy on it is diabolical. You know what I mean? So
who's in charge of this? When you say marketing strategy, who's in charge of this strategy? When you say that,
like it's bigger than a man. You know what I'm saying? It's a system. That's Satan. That's like it's too diabolical for it to be a person.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Now we can compete, we can try to outmarket it, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I believe that I'm trying to do, but it's diabolical, bro. Like the system itself is designed like anybody that goes to the feds and you go to the feds on a drug case, you're gonna learn that it's designed to tell on the people that are not supposed to tell are the people that are on the bottom. Like if you look at El Chapo, if you look at those, they got police on payroll. You don't get that big without having police on payroll. The agreement with the police is that I give up this person for this person, right? Like it's designed for you to be stuck in this, and it's an honor society kind of philosophy. The honor of sticking to what you did. So what they did was they took the Black Panther. You keep your silence for this, and they mask it with the criminality and the people that are at the top of the criminal that thought that design are saying, oh no, don't tell on me, but of course I'm gonna tell on you. So it's a lie that we believe, you know what I mean? And I'm not promoting telling. I'm not promoting that you should do something and then tell your way out of it. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is it's a design. It's not like when you go to the feds, you're not the bureau is not talking to 1,100 inmates. They're talking to 7 because there's 7 cars, and if there's 7 cars, there's 7 leaders. If I can control 7 people, I don't have to control 1,100 people.
That's good. I want to back up just a little bit. You talk about going to the feds. What were you doing? First off, have you been to jail?
Yeah, I've been to prison.
You've been to prison.
Jail is where people go for tickets.
Right. Okay. So you've been to prison. Walk us down that pathway up until then. You 14, you sleeping in the back of your kids or your friend's car, you doing all of these things. How did you get to a point to where you went to prison, and what age were you then?
I was 23 when I went to prison. I came home when I was 31. I went from staying in the 50s to getting a place about 21 in the 60s, called a dope case, went to Independence, went to the projects in Independence, and ended up coming back to the city to sell dope again after about two some years, but then I landed on 27th and Prospect. What they were doing was they were putting that crime lab up there on 27th and Prospect, and what I didn't know was that they had already cleared out, they had put these conspiracies out and sweep the corner. Well, coming from the 50s, we hustle with a level of structure. And what I did was I took that structure down there where they already dismantled it, and it wasn't nobody but like everyday like little hustlers, people getting high. You know what I'm saying? Hustling and stuff like that. And there was no structure. So when I came down there with structure because I felt like it was wide open. So a little power, a little push, and then with structure, like structure gonna run anything. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I did, and didn't know that that's what I was doing. I was just trying to like just make some money. But from the Fed standpoint, if you put structure to criminality, that's criminal enterprise. So,
which gets you more time.
Which ended up getting me, the conspiracy. So I had a conspiracy to distribute crack cocaine, felony possession of a firearm, or furtherance of a drug trafficking crime. I have a A and a B trafficking in the state.
Wow. And so, what would you say the most unexpected lesson was while serving time that you learned while you were serving time?
That as much as I was trying to control, it all led me to where I was at. My best thinking, my best survival skills landed me in prison. And if I did my best. I did my best to survive. I tried everything that I knew how to do, and that's where I landed. So I didn't know enough.
Was there one person in prison that kind of took you under their wing, or was it a fend for yourself type thing?
So the route that I chose, I had to fend for myself because I chose to run Christian. So that's like riding solo. That's running solo. You know what I mean? It's diabolical to run Christian because like that's where the rats, the pedophiles, and all of them go. So like I had to show my paperwork to be able to walk around the prison because you can't run solo like that, right? So I was probably persecuted for like the first 6 months. Like I couldn't even stay in my first cell with the St. Louis dude because I was running Christian and I had to wait for my paperwork to get in. So it's like, one, you can't run unless you're in the Midwest car. You can't be in the cell unless you're in the Midwest car. And then part two, here's your paperwork. Here's your go get your paperwork. You know what I'm saying? So paperwork came in, showed that. The reason that I even ran Christian wasn't because I was scared of anything. Was my uncle had been to the feds and he told me like, if you run, only way that you're not going to be in the stuff is if you run solo. And on my way to the joint for 2 years, I'm fighting my case. That's when they told me like, if you run Christian, that's how you run solo. So I was already devoted. I was already like diving heavy into my word. I was already like, that's my Christianity, my belief in God is what flipped my belief in saying like, you didn't know what to do. Like you're not big enough to understand. So that was the encounter. If you're saying that somebody take me under my wing, I feel like that's what, like on the floor in CCA was when I realized like, you ain't got it, big dog.
Where were you at? Where were you incarcerated?
Leavenworth. I started in Leavenworth, and then CCA in Leavenworth, and then I went to USP Leavenworth, and then I left Leavenworth and went to Arizona, and I came home from Arizona.
Tell me about that. So you talked about it wasn't that you were scared that you did that. So you're saying that as you're selling dope, you had a relationship with God at that time prior to going to prison.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. Like how they talk about, there's a term, cognitive dissonance, right? Having two thought processes in occupying one space that are complete opposite of one another. Now, and I don't want to preload you with any information, but can the thought process of being a Christian and selling dope occupy the same space? And then how were you navigating that?
Yeah, it's based on your maturity.
Okay.
If I'm a first time father, right? My dad wasn't there. I'm a first time father. I don't have any, so I'm going to make different mistakes than somebody that had 3 fathers or four generations of fathers, right? Christianity is going to look different for the first generation than it is for the second generation and third generation father. It just is, though. So your rate of growth is what it is. First of all, like, am I submitted? Romans 8 says this. He says the reprobate mind cannot and will not submit to the will of God. It can't turn its head towards God. It doesn't have the ability to. God has to awaken the thought process inside of that person to even turn his head to the light, to be able to be engulfed by the light. You know what I'm saying? So if we're talking about the order of saludo, or the election process of God, how God chooses us and we choose God, what it says is, I first chose you because I knew you from the beginning. I wrapped you and I formed you in your mother's womb. I wrote your name in the end. How you get there to me, that's the journey. So in the whole essence, I'm thinking I'm choosing him. Actually, he's choosing me. You know what I'm saying? So that me going through the journey was him saying, yo, I wish that sin never imputed into your life, but since sin is here, I'm gonna take you on this journey to arrive at this place, because this story that I'm giving you is what you're gonna use to impact the rest of the world. So I never not knew who my creator was. I was using the gift that he gives me, because the gift he gives me is flow. Like, I can make things create. That's the gift that he gave me. It doesn't matter where I do it at. I can do it in the streets. I can do it in whatever. That's the gift. Now, will I use the gift to destroy me, or will I use the gift to honor him? Right. That's where the shift comes in at. You know what I'm saying? Because I had a team on the streets. I had guys following me. That's how I didn't know I was in the conspiracy.
Wow. So much. Biggest thing that I want to take away from that is that the same gifts that are making you successful now, and we'll dive into Lyrics Institute a little bit, but I just want to paint the picture walking up to that. The same things that are making you successful now were the same things that you were deploying while you were on the streets that made you successful. Yeah. It's not like you're doing anything differently, like you're learning a new skill set. You're just applying it differently. I
was trying to turn a faucet on that was already on. So I'm trying to create something that's already created, and I'm limited in my thinking, so I'm breaking it. So I'm trying to be this great leader, if I could say how humble it is, like, to be a CEO means you serve a lot in God's kingdom. Like, the more respect you give, the more I need you to do. The more you might not see your family, the more you might not, like, the more sacrifice, like, the higher the title in God's kingdom, the more you do, right? So, like, coming to a place where it's like, I don't know, I just got kind of lost in that. I'm sorry. I was just thinking about how good he is. I'm sorry.
Amen.
I lost my train of thought, because there's nothing I can do with that. So if I it's like a baby, the most dangerous animal is the baby viper, because the baby viper, when it bites you, it will release all of its venom. But it's detriment that it harmed the viper, because now it can't protect itself. Now it's vulnerable, right? So it's not even that it has a lot of venom. It's just going to release all of it, right? So what I'm doing is I'm a baby viper with this gift, and I'm giving it all away in the wrong place. I'm breaking things. I'm hurting myself. I'm doing these things. So, like, once I accepted I needed to put my gift on God's potter's wheel and let him shape and form it based on his parameters and his precepts and his truths, now this thing is flourishing. And I'm telling you right now, I did more work selling dope than I have as a businessman. I'm saying hard work, like absolutely grinding, because it takes a lot of effort to be homeless. It takes a lot of effort to look over your shoulder. It takes a lot of effort to step out on foot. It takes more effort and I'll be telling my young boys this, like, you know what it feels like to put your feet on the ground when you get out the car to walk towards the house, to put like, you know, that energy, you know, that feeling. You're doing more in that than it does to live this way.
And when you say this way,
to play, I'm not telling you to be a robot, but I'm saying is the rules have been put in place to like these. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I don't want to come off as like I'm one of them people that say, like, follow all the rules in America because you need to be this robot. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's moral constructs that are put in place. There's you have to be emotional intelligent. You have to be socially intelligent. You have to do these things. You have to play by these rules, this cultural construct. Wise man said this. Whenever I'm at home, bro, like, I talk in a dialect, in a tone, in a frequency, like, that my family understands. I'm not going to take that to the masses and talk that same way, because they're not going to understand the context behind what I'm saying. So what that told me was that there's a business culture and there's a personal culture. The issue is we keep taking our personal culture into the business culture and expecting the business culture to adapt to this. It won't do it. It's been going on for too long. And that's why like prisons and shit, prisons and stuff is made. It's for that reason, because now you believe that you want to infiltrate your culture, your ideology into my culture, and my culture runs well. But if you impute yours into this culture and this is running at full speed, and you taint this, and this becomes something else because it's going to grow, because if I murder kids that murder or anybody that could up a gun in front of 1 million people, he did not wake up like that morning. What came to find out, though, on both sides of that, they come from families of people that are in the feds for murder. You don't wake up like you know what I'm saying. So if I let you put this culture inside of here, what you're going to do is you're going to taint this culture with your ideology, my G. I need to get you up out of here.
So are you saying that killers are groomed?
Yeah. You know how much harder it takes to look somebody this square in the eye and kill them? You know what it takes to pop skin? No. The people will take a gun from, you got the gun, you pointed at them, right? And they come and take the gun, pat you on it, pop you on the head. And you know what I mean? Like, how many movies have you seen like that? Like,
yeah.
It's so real. It's called propensity. Everybody doesn't have the propensity. They don't have the ability. We think, that's why crime shows are so important. Because you'll never do it. We watch them because we'll never do it. We think it, but we can't believe that a person actually did it. You walked in the bank and actually robbed them. Are you serious?
Wow.
I guess it's unbelievable. It's so unbelievable, I'll give you my money. Yeah, but we'll go in there and go do it. How?
That's good, man.
It's criminality, though, but
do you feel like
I'm rambling.
No, you're not. And I'm telling you, when you're giving me so much stuff that and let me say too that podcasting is an art. There's a flow. There's questions that I would like to do, but just like my interaction with you is going to be different than the next guest. You got to be able to. A true podcaster has to be able to pivot based on the information that's being given to be able to have a healthy dialogue, to being able to navigate that space. If I come in here so regimented that I'm going to ask this question and this question and this question, it's not going to have a honest dialogue. So the reason you see me thinking, and because of the fact I'm taking in the information that you gave me to being able to make sure that the content and that the listeners and the viewers are able to follow the story.
Right.
Does that make sense? And it's a lot of research that goes into this. So I just had to make sure that that's very, very clear, because podcasting is an art, and I enjoy it because I enjoy people and dialogue, right? So diving back into where we were at, do you feel like there's a lot of, let me say, so if somebody were to run into you 15 years ago, what type of man or what type of person would they see then?
I would have been going into prison 15 years ago.
Well, let's say 17. Let's say 17 years, right before you were going into prison.
The same person that was going into prison. I was horrible. Domestic violence, man, what? I was horrible. Pimping, selling dope, man. I was trying to figure it out. Like, it didn't matter by any means necessary.
Who showed you? We just talked about mentorship. We talked about grooming. Who showed you that was the way?
Everything outside my front door when I walked outside. Like, the music I listened to, I was groomed. Like, I didn't listen to nothing else. It was weird. If it wasn't what I was on, it was weird. So why would I entertain anything motivating or trying to go in a different direction? Like, there's a big homie down the street. I can walk down there. I can go listen to the big homie on the corner. Like, or I go tap in when I run across dude or other else. I'm gonna figure it out.
What you talked about a mindset, and then you talked about something that's very powerful, and your mindset being influenced by music. Mm-hmm. What was that artist for you that put you in that mindset to being able to do some of the things that you've done that landed you in prison?
I was a hustler, so it was rich.
Rich to fact.
It was rich. It was all the Bay Area. If you was hustling, I wasn't a killer. I would get down on you, but I wasn't a jack boy. I wasn't my lane. I wasn't just trying to. I didn't want nothing to die. If it was gonna die, it was gonna die. But I didn't want nothing to die at all. I was that kind of guy. You know what I'm saying? I was a hustler. I wanted to figure out how to take over the block, and that was my mind. So that's what I listened to.
You said you didn't want nothing to die.
No.
But you sold crack cocaine.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. I mean, help me understand, because I mean, we being in the city, being in the hood, it may not have been an immediate death, but ultimately you're giving them the poison that's going to eventually kill them, essentially. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, 100%. But you're not thinking about that when you're in survival mode. The difference between surviving and living is living, I can think 10 years out. Surviving, I can either think now to 5 years out. Like, I can't, my brain couldn't see. I could see it and I could fathom it, but I couldn't get, it wasn't personal. It wasn't personal. You know what I'm saying? If I keep letting, real story, little mama keep walking past me, she pregnant, right to the door. She keep giving them $50. She keep doing it. What's gonna happen? Like, why am I gonna keep letting this person walk past me making $50? She gonna smoke this dope anyway. You know what I'm saying? That's the eroding of your morals. You know what I mean? Like when you're in survival mode. Like you don't start out. Nobody starts out like that. Like you start out with good morals. They erode. Like I didn't want nothing to die until I realized like, nah, they picking on me. Like God would understand if I killed somebody. Like that's how I was before I went to prison. And I still believe that. I still believe that God don't have a problem with me defending myself. But there's a huge difference than I've created hate in my heart. Like he says, Raka, if you say, I hate this man, you've already committed murder. You know what I'm saying? So like, he know if and I know, it ain't that he gotta know. I know if this was self-defense. I know if I edge dude on, I know how to be petty and troll a dude. You know what I'm saying? I know. So like, I don't need another accountability partner to tell me that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna call it ace and ace. Like I'm wrong. People don't do that. And that's what criminality is. Criminality is the ability for me to say, I absolutely did not do this thing in which I actually did. You know what I mean? I got caught with a pack of dope. The police officer pulled the pack of dope out of my pocket, right? I looked him square in his eye and said, you put it there. That is criminality. That is what criminality is. Your propensity to not take accountability.
You talk about a thought process. You mentioned something. You said, as a man thinketh, so is he, right? So you've already committed several acts or done different things if you even had the propensity to think about it, right? And so the reason I bring that up is that as you're navigating the streets, as you're doing your thing, right? What is it like what's the family dynamic like, right?
Then?
Yeah.
Man, there wasn't no family dynamic. I didn't want to be no daddy.
Pop's not around.
No, Pops was there. But see, here's the thing though, man, like we are not prepared for what this money will do to you and the people around you that you about to make. Like y'all man.
What money? What we talking about? How much
So
we talking?
I was running this dope house. My sister was getting married. I had to go to Vegas and I had some like 10 bands. There was like 10 bands that was in the car or whatever. And I needed to put the money up before I was going to Vegas. So it's my first time ever encountering this situation where I just had this large lump sum of money that I needed to get rid of. I mean, this is stash. So I take it to my pop's house. I have a conversation with him. There's no excuse. You have to have a conversation with me. Do not spend this money. I'm coming back. I got a plan, right? You know, this man paid his mortgage with my money. When I came back, I needed the money to move the money. I was moving this girl because it was a whole situation. I needed the money.
Yeah.
My own daddy, you know what I'm saying? So I just walked out, you know what I mean, in that situation. But this is one thing I can say. God loves you enough to put people in your life, and God loves you enough to remove people from your life. And sometimes the people that he removed from your life may seem like in the moment that they're going to be gone forever, but it may just be a pause because they need to grow up. You know what I'm saying? Like they have to grow up to be in your life, and he loves you enough to remove them. And that's what happened. You know what I mean? My dad ended up growing up, but at that time, the man that I thought was, and I had to grow up. My perspective had to grow up on who he was. You know what I mean? I didn't have enough empathy. I wasn't taught how to have empathy. You know what I mean? Like parents he was supposed to be a superhero. He was supposed to do no wrong. I was basing that off of Disney Channel. I was basing that off the Proud Family. I was basing it off of like, I didn't know that this is all I got. I don't got nothing else. This is what I got. You know what I'm saying? Like I got to make good with what I got. And once I accepted that he was a human and this is what I got, I heard his wisdom at that point. But you have to be able to see a human with flaws and mistakes and see all through that. So that's when my dad became relevant in my life. He was there, he was present, you know what I'm saying? My mom was molested by her father, so she wasn't touchy or feely. So like, it was, this dynamic is so, my dad was adopted by his father. He's the oldest of four siblings, right? Raised in Odessa, 5,000 people, 75 blacks. Of course he's up. Went to the military. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course he didn't know another way to discipline. He didn't know how to not beat the shit. You know, he was trying to save me. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't have no tools. You know, he's a 4th generation father. You know what I'm saying? Like, he did what he could. You know what I mean? And I couldn't see that from that point. But I mean, so I'm not gonna down my dad. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't see his point of view. But what I am gonna say is, as any young adult, we're going to be better than our people. So we're going to take their mistakes, but inside of that mistake that they made, it was a jewel. And you got to be able to decipher that. Like, otherwise you're going to lose the only thing that can tell you about you. You don't know why you're doing what you're doing. You don't remember anything from 0 to your memory age of 7 or 8, my G. Like, there's things about you that you need somebody that knew you at that time, because you need to unhook from it. Because what's happening is you came up with a solution to it, and you didn't know that you came up with a solution to it, and now you're carrying a 13-year-old solution into your 28, 29, 30 years old, because in survival mode, you don't go back and refix a problem.
Have you gone to therapy before?
So I teach behavior modification.
You teach it
I go to therapy. Yeah, I go to therapy. What?
So you attend therapy.
Yeah.
And you work out all of the items of your past to being able to not duplicate those same things for your future.
I think therapy is to recognize we all got a thorn in our side. It's something traumatizing that hit us. Mine is abandonment and homelessness. I wasn't even abandoned, my G. She stood on she didn't abandon me. I was messing up. I thought in my mind that parents should accept me however I come. I was not abandoned. It does not matter. I thought that for 20 years. It doesn't matter. I live that reality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But because I accept that is my thorn, because I accept that I struggle with homelessness, now I can root everything back to that. And I know what abandonment does to me. It makes me overthink. It makes me be the smartest person in the room. And when I'm the smartest person in the room, then I can make movement in the room, right? I need power. Most people that are really, really great at something, their trauma is what makes them great. It's how you shape and recognize the trauma. So we're all either going to be a doer or a thinker. You know what I'm saying? Like, God's going to give you the gift of one. You're supposed to be able to mold yourself into the other one. The gift that you give, however prominent it is, it needs to be weighed against something, and it's going to grab. It's like the yin and the yang. Like, your wife is totally opposite of you because she's supposed to soften you. She's the other half of you, right? That's the same way with the thing that sharpens your gift. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to have something to push it up against it, like, oh no, I need to shake this off. I don't need it. And the things that you're going to shake off is all solutions you came up with to trauma.
That's good, man. That's really good.
True.
I'm a transition now. Are there, before we dive into more present, as we kind of build the foundation for the followers, right, to understand who you are, why you are the way that you are, talk to me about current life. You married, children, all of those things.
I'm engaged.
Congratulations.
I am engaged.
Okay.
We're having our engagement party March 14th.
Right on.
It was a long time coming. I got five kids now. I had 3. She brought 2 to the table. When I left, my oldest child was 3. When I came back, she was 11. But I've been present in my other kid's life. My silly self had a kid the first year I was home. Idiot, but I love my son to death. And now so it's Lyrik, Truth, KJ, Reagan, and Micah. That's
Lyrik is the oldest.
Is the oldest.
And
that's my first family.
That's your first family. So you run Lyrik's Institute.
Yeah.
So was that institute born by way of your daughter's name?
Yep. So I got introduced to cognitive behavior on my first bid. So I went down. I had alphabet soup. So I had that class A trafficking, B trafficking, C possession, D tampering, and I had some municipal stuff. I pled out to all of it, ended up with the Class A and the B trafficking. My probation officer vouched for me to go to this program, which was cognitive behavior modification. It was a 4-month treatment. The probation was never vouched, right? He was a God-fearing guy, would pray with me and all this type of stuff. Random, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy work, right? So he got me into that program. That was that 4 months. So I had the 10-year sentence because there's no drug remand. I could take that class for 4 months, and then I would go on probation for 5 years, right?
Got you.
So I get introduced to it and blow my mind, like, damn, I'm stuck. Like, I really realized I was stuck. She asked the question, she says, who's worse, the drug dealer or the pedophile? And I'm like, well, the pedophile. It's all drug dealers in here, right? Of course, the pedophile. And then she asks us how many victims does a pedophile have and how many victims does a drug dealer have? And I realized I was the boogeyman, right? So at that point, I realized, like, oh, this is dope. Like, this is that thing that set, this is like what we need. Like, I wish I would have known. But then I'm a student. My mom's therapist, right? Like, I was the hooked on phonics kid and could read. I never went to an inner city school. You know what I'm saying? I've always went to Raytown South, Sweeney Elementary. I never went to, Central. I graduated from Central, but I only went to graduate there because I was homeless. So I was very studious. I was a lecture kid. I was the kid that had to sit at the in the front pew and watch the preacher preach. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a lecture kid. I can take that. And that was the anomaly piece, because what Hooked on Phonics taught me was how to reason.
That's good.
It taught me how to read something and then create an idea. And I had to do it every day, 6 books a day to even go outside and play. So what makes me really, really good is how I can build things, is I can reason a lot of information and then come up with a conclusion. You know what I mean? And that's what I do. So that's how Lyrics kind of sprung into motion in my mind through the cognitive side. But then what happened was they changed my Fed number and indicted me on a case that was 2 years old, a week before I was going home. So I never left jail. I went straight to the feds. That's when I had the 35-year indictment. It was 8 counts on that one. Before I pled out, I only pled out to 2. I was facing 35 years. So I'm doing the cognitive stuff that I learned there in the county, and I'm creating a program, and I'm like, oh no, this is the key. I don't know how I'm gonna get these people out, because I was still thinking about using the drug dealers' money, because I had this key, and I knew this thing, and I knew how to raise money throughout the homies. I was gonna flip it. We're gonna promote. We're gonna do this thing. And he was like, no, you about to sit down and go do these 7 years. So in that 7 years, I got introduced to Life Connections. It's an 18-month program. So that was a cognitive behavior modification. It was faith-based. Boom. I became the lead in there. And then I took seminary while I was in there too. So taking both of those components, and then I taught a class called the Men of Influence. I graduated. Once I understood it, I started stacking it, because I was like, oh, I'm using this, because I had to come up with a retirement plan. I had to come up with what I was going to do and not sell dope. So that was my plan the whole time. And once I seen that it freed me, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to spend the rest of my life trying to free other people. How do I monetize it? So when I was the head clerk, what I did was I was the lead person. I organized their meetings, ordered the workbooks, the guests that came in. I printed out everything. Like, I created the itineraries, the schedules. I did all of that while I was down as the lead orderly. And then what I wanted to test out the material that I had with a group that was called Inside the Men of Influence. They were graduating like 15. The class I graduated was like 15, 16. It started out at 30, 35. Wow. I graduated 33 on my first time teaching the class, though, right? Brought in Rosalind Temple. That's how Rosalind Temple got into the prisons, KC Mothers in Charge. I wrote her from jail, got the lady to get her to go through the process to come in, right? And that's how she started going into the prison. So once I did that, I graduated the program and got shipped to Arizona, where I got shipped there for a reason, because they had another program there called RDAP, which was cognitive behavior modification. Ended up growing to be the head orderly there. Started teaching classes there. I packed everything together, and then when I came home, I just put everything that I built into action. But I think the code piece was, and this is really God's design, when I went to the low, that's where I got introduced to white collar crime, and that's how I learned the governance of nonprofit. They had owned these nonprofits. I'm just not greedy. They just got greedy, but they were showing me how the 3 degrees of separation when it comes to the grant funding, and like they were showing me how to sustain. That's how I learned nonprofit was sustainable nonprofit. I never came in under the premise of they're always going to give me money. And because I've learned that learned through the program. It's like it was the blueprint to come home in 2019 to start building.
Let's back up just a second, because here it is. You're in jail, prison. I apologize. You're in prison. You're serving this bid. You're changing in there. You're running into these education programs. They're doing this behaving modification of your mentality, your brain. But there's a lot of people out here that remembered your yesterday and not your tomorrow type of thing, right? And so when you're running into these corporations or to these businesses and to these people, did you ever meet resistance where they like, nah, bro, we remember what you was doing when you was on the streets. That's cool that you went to prison and you learned these skills and these crafts, but no, we're not going to take a chance on you. Have you ran into that person or that organization or company?
I feel like I've ran into that more with us than I've ran into it with them. Like I gotta overly prove to black people that I'm qualified to do the work that we do. Like when I talk to them, they're so like it's clear that I know I have an idea of what the goal is, what the plan is, like how to make the mindset shift and all of that. Like to us, it's like, but I know you. It's kind of like a prophet is not respected in his own home. You know what I mean? It's like we know you. We know you. A case manager told me something real powerful, man. And he said, the world needs success stories. Harvard needs a success story. They want to say that we're the ones that brought them out. And that's the mentality that I came home with is I'm about to make everybody look good. That's my goal. Like I want to brand you. I want you to look good. Like that's my thing. Like, because the story is so crazy. And it's true, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not making it up. Like, there's people that can vouch for every part of this, but it's so crazy. You get to see God make the least of these into the most of them. So, like, I believe I'm going to make impact. So, when I go in there into these organizations, I remember when I first came home, it wasn't because of the felonies. It was because I thought I was a black boy. I didn't deserve to be there. It was my issue when it came to dealing with them was me. My issue when it comes to us is us. For real.
Would you coin that as imposter syndrome, son?
Yeah, of course it's imposter. Yes, that's a great word. Yes, that's exactly what it was. You're too loud. Your ideas are this. And listen, this is what got me here, big dog. Like, I had to figure out, I went to therapy. They used to be on me, bro. I had to go to therapy, bro. Because I was losing my identity. I remember waking up one time, bro. I had to go to New York. I woke up and just went to New York for a week, bro. 5 minutes, just blew it. Just blew it because I couldn't take people telling me like, oh, you're not doing it the right way. You're not doing it this way. And I'm looking at their work and I'm like, Reggie, you ain't doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not doing it at a high level and you want me to turn down. This is what it was. Kids are dying, 2023. Kids are dying. Like the parade, like things are popping in 2023. Like I'm getting kids that are consistently calling me about like, I'm going to jail. I got kids that are on murders. Like I got real people calling me, needing to be transferred. Just got shot through the neck. I got like real issues and these kids are calling me. Y'all committed to saying that y'all are saying that y'all are for nonviolence. I have a group of people that are trying to get out, and you're not going to give me the money. We went from 300 and something thousand to 118,000 in 2023 when the DEI and all that stuff changed. But we also know in 2023, what happened? Chiefs, right?
Right.
Do you know how many organizations were trying to spring up and say that we're doing the work? Right now, there's no other organization that has this type of organizational structure, case management support, like pipeline in. This is a real life organization that is being created to impact only 13 to 25, only poverty, criminality, and violence. There's not another one, right? Tell me why you're raising 2-some million. Who are you giving it to? That was my big beef. And I kicked, I screamed, I hollered, I yelled, and they ain't heard from me since because they gave me some money. You know what I'm saying? So.
I want to back up just a little bit because I do want to talk about the specifics of your organization and make it very clear what Lyrics Institute is. But you talked about something that I want to make sure that that I highlight. As you're coming home, you're trying to teach this premise that you feel like God maybe has given you, and you're running into controversy, not necessarily with America per se, but with our people. I've done some research on some of the things that you've done, and you talked about poverty mentality. Do you feel like when you run into some of these hiccups or some of this push or whatever, do you feel like it's a part of that poverty mentality that's preventing you from entering in those spaces with our people?
Sides, yeah, on my side and on their side, yeah. Like we trap, bro. Like we are not in a bucket. Crabs in a bucket method only works when there's a bucket. Crabs do not belong in a bucket. They belong in the ocean. So as long as we keep operating like there's a bucket, my G, there's not a bucket. Let me be very clear. There's not a bucket. We are not competing. We are not competing. Listen, if we are not working together, we are fooling ourselves. Like, bro, I can touch a Grant bucket you can't touch. You can touch a Grant bucket I can touch. Like, there's no reason for us to be competing. And keep it $150 is too much work. It's too much work to be done for us not to be. So there's the backpack. There's people that just want to serve. I don't want to scale. I don't want to do anything. There's this group of nonprofit, like they need to be funded over a long period of time, and they should get like $75,000, $100,000, $250,000 budgets. They should be content, right?
Right.
I think a small nonprofit is $1 million. A small nonprofit is $1 million, right? That's my opinion. Because if you want sustainability and growth, you have to hire people. That's $250,000 out the gate. Like now we're talking about programming after that. That middle area. Once we realize the only way to become a conglomerate is if we collaborate, you don't become a conglomerate without collaboration. You're not, because right now it takes 4 case managers to get one young adult from poverty to sustainability. Because the funding, there's not one organization that has funding for all things that make a person whole. So each organization, what we can't do is say, well, I got a case manager, you got a case manager, or since he's on your program and he's getting those federal dollars, you can't get some of this money. No. We can't do that. We got to collaborate. They got to be able to go through all of our things. We got to collect all of the data together. We need to submit for these grants together. We need to come together. So grassroots organizations that have the ability to make the biggest impact, so all those organizations that are just like fund me those $250 a year, they need to be inside of the organization so we can make sure that they stay stable, because they're not doing their pre and post tests. They're all passion, no paperwork. It's just they want to do the work. And it takes a lot to run a nonprofit, and we get the nonprofit status so we can do the work, but you can really maximize this tax coding to really like generate economic and systemic change. And that's the goal. Like that's what we're going to do in Kansas City. Kansas City will not look the same when the Lyrics building is completely plain.
So talk to me about, walk us down, what is the Lyrics Institute? Like if I were to walk through the door, is this a Monday through Friday, Sunday through Saturday? Like talk to me about the everyday inner workings of Lyrics Institute. Like what is it about your organization that makes it different than all of the other non-for-profit organizations in the Kansas City metropolitan area?
For sure. So short and concise, our cultural competency is king. You can't document. I mean, you can't copyright cognitive behavior modification. It's a philosophy. Everybody's using it. How you deliver it is how you can copyright it. And because we're putting CVI workers, credible messengers, people with lived experiences in criminality, poverty, and violence. And what we understand is that each one of those components are 3 different cultures. That means there's 3 different thought processes. So when we bring somebody in that has a lived experience in violence and murder and put the cognitive model inside of that person, the growth rate is exponential, because we learn from relationship first, then education. That's how our culture learns. So that's what we do. We do that through 7 programs. The top 3 programs that we run is the I Build program, where young adults are getting stipend $412 a month for a total of 12. It's like $2,500. There's a 6-month program. They get workforce, straight into workforce. We make sure that they walk away with 7 pillars, but the 4 biggest pillars is a phone, transportation, home, and a bank account. We believe that that's the core thing that you need to start adulting on. And then what we work on is their thinking errors, criminal thinking errors, the things that drive us into criminality and keep us stuck in criminality. And then rework is the tools that we do to undo those. And then after that is the ripple effect. And that's when we bring in like politicians, like we brought in Gene Peterson Baker, we brought in Melissa, we brought in lawyers, Tracy Shaw, figures from our community that are impacted by violence. We brought in mothers, we brought in Moody's mom, 20, I don't know if anybody knows 51st Street, that whole crime wave. Well, his mother partners with us. She comes in and talks to them about like what's it like to be the mother of it, how did I create, like this is my lifestyle and this is what generated. So the goal is to show the impact of their decisions on a large scale. And then the last part is bossing up. Again, 6 months, they graduate from that. We stick and stay with them with case management. They get wraparound supports. We eliminate the barrier for transportation by Ubering them there. Not only they getting stipend, whatever they choose to go after, whatever they choose to do, we actually have dollars to help them create it. So if you want to build a studio, we're going to build a studio. If you want to do shirts, like we're going to do fashion and design, like whatever it is, we're going to invest money into it. Because the goal is for them to understand how their thoughts in trauma created, like how do I deal with it? I get a goal to something to chase. And then now from that point on, we're just going to keep tweaking my emotional intelligence until I get it because I got the foundation of how to do it in the beginning.
How many people does Lyrik Institute employ?
We have 7 people right now.
7 people on staff, full time.
Full time.
So when these students come into your organization, they're there. Is it like a supplementation to school, or is it a before and after school program?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. So right now we're in Grandview High School. Okay. So I have coaches. We have our school-based coaches that are there. They're there from 10 to 2. They leave there after a break, and then they're do the after school programming from 3 to 5. We have a street-based team that does the case management supports for the guys that aren't there. So everybody gets a case manager. So what the street team is helping is actually holding their hand and going to the health department to get the birth certificate, or going to the food stamp place with them, or going to the lawyer, whatever the need may be. It's just somebody to hold their hand through it. So that's our school-based side. That's our build, but then we have the culture intervention, and that's our diversion programs. That's our suspension interventions for long-term suspension. That also goes through the day also. So we have a young adult going from 10 to 3, and then he'll go to recording engineering with Joe Black from 3 to 5. So we're trying to hit every touch point. Like any time that a young adult is going through any extreme behavior, or we want to find out and identify and then create a success plan in that, whatever it looks like, whether that's in school or out of school. So
you mentioned the partnership with Grandview High School. Mm-hmm. Does Lyrik Institute have a brick and mortar?
So right now we're in 39th and Park. So Westport Middle, they revamped that. So we're on the 4th floor. We leased out the back corner of that area, so we have some nice space in there. Yep. I'm talking about like nice, like they're feeling comfortable in there, like looking like Google in that joint. But that's where we do the programming and the office work, and then everything else is outsourced.
Where God is, I'm assuming God is the foundation of Lyrik Institute. Yeah. And so where do you feel like God, he says, my thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways are higher than your ways, right? Mm-hmm. So where do you feel like God has taken Lyrik Institute next?
Lyrik Institute is God's gift to the world. What I do after Lyrics is going to be what God's gift to his kingdom is going to be. So right now, Lyrics is on this trajectory to make sure that anybody that's going through poverty, criminality, and violence has access to resources, housing, transportation, and the opportunity to get where they're going from 13 to 25. I don't care who it is, what's going on. My calling, I'm a teacher, and my calling, I'm going to teach hermeneutics and apologetics. That is my end game. So,
if someone comes to you that is outside of that scope of 13 to 25, do you turn them down? Do you partner with another organization to send them there?
I'll refer.
Okay. Where's that? Who's that other organization that you're referring to?
If they're over 25, then I'll go to uncornered, but there's nothing for anybody younger. I refer to other programs like, and let me not say nothing, but there's like youth ambassadors, there's, And for Peace has things. There's some other organizations. T-Shirt King got one. You know what I mean? Like, my man's, and that's the thing though, like, there's a lot of organizations that are here to do the work, but they're not on the list of agencies. So like if I go to KC Common Good, right, that's where all the violence prevention stuff happens. Like KC Common Good is the bridge between community-based organizations and government, right? Like that's the convening part. Well, government, big business, all of that. So if you want to be able to find a way to bridge that gap, then KC 360 on Thursdays at 9 o'clock in the morning. And you'll see anybody from Mayor Pro Tem, Rainer Park Shaw there. You'll see the lead prosecutor there. Public safety official will be there. The police chief walks in there sometimes. So like, if you want to have access to that, then that's where I would go.
I love that you're giving these. I've been contacted by a few people, and I'm gonna wrap up just a little bit because I know your time is valuable. But I've been contacted by a few people, and I need to just say this: that when you turn on the news in the morning, you see a lot of the things that are going wrong or negative about Kansas City. Being born and raised in Kansas City in the projects, and then now as a fire chief, obviously I've skipped some. But what I'm saying is that it's my goal using this platform that God provided me to be able to talk about how we are enhancing Kansas City, talking about how we are giving back to the city in a capacity to where it's making our city different than any other city. I love Kansas City. Kansas City is doing things in this city that I'm super proud of. Do we have our challenges? Absolutely. But what I'm saying is that if you have a positive story, if you want to bring something to the table that's going to be able to give the youth of our community a different chance, a different voice, a different idea, that's what I want to bring to this particular platform. I'm not saying that your story is not important. I'm not saying that you're invalid. I'm not even saying if you've been wronged in any way and you want to use a platform to be able to talk about those things. I think that's important, but it's just not this platform. This platform is talking about organizations like Lyrik Institute, like T-Shirt King, like the ones that are giving back to the community in a positive way. And that's why I stayed consistent with this brother, because he's doing some amazing things for this community that maybe you didn't know. And I pray that God uses this platform to be able to enhance or talk about some of the things that he's already doing, and that we can collaborate in some capacity in whatever that may be, right? I want to make sure that as we wrap up, there's a part that I like to do at the end where it's saying that if you had advice to the young people of this community, what would you say to them that maybe if you heard those same words that may have deterred some of the things that you've done in the ways in which you've gotten to where you are?
Sun Tzu said, your greatest enemy is you. If you got the heart to up a gun on somebody else, what in your life are you scared to up a gun on? Like, are you man enough to shoot yourself in the face? Like, it takes more work to kill another person than it does to discipline yourself or find things that you need to work on. Like, that's the God honest truth. You got the heart to do that. If you got the heart to do that, that's crazy work. that you're not gonna do hard on yourself. Like, you weak. You actually soft. To be honest with you. So, and then the last thing is, you're only gonna grow to the rate of your accountability, big dog. Manhood is not defined by what you can provide. Manhood is defined by your capacity to love. And your capacity to love is based on your ability to be disciplined. Because love is sacrifice, so you gotta be disciplined to sacrifice yourself. So, that might go over your head, but I'm gonna tell you like how it told me, nothing that my mentor said made sense until I was in a quiet place, and that quiet place was in a box. So, we all gonna find ourselves in a box. Just make sure you got enough game to hear loudly when you in that box, if you keep choosing the route that you're choosing. That's my game.
That's good, man. I mean, it's so much wisdom. What I would like to say, and we didn't dive into it as much today, and I just can only imagine that God is going to continue to develop this relationship, and we can maybe dive into it more in the future. But from what the research that I've done on you, you are unapologetically black in every space that you enter. In every space that you enter, and the things that were meant to be negative or that were meant to be oh, he's loud, or he's abrasive, and he's all these things are the same things that are making him money now. The same things that makes Lyrics Institute that organization, that you have a different platform and a different audience than I have. Mm-hmm. And so if you enter into your space not unapologetically you, then you're missing out on someone that God put underneath your realm to being able to reach. Mm-hmm. And so my advice to anyone watching this is be unapologetically you. Yes, I'm talking about him being unapologetically black, but what I'm saying is if you're not black or whatever, be you in whatever space, because all of us are different. All of us are uniquely and wonderfully made. And so God put you here for a reason. It's up to you to explore what that reason is. And maybe one day, or maybe right now, you're being ostracized or you're being talked about for the way that you are. But if you continue to develop that notion of your being and make sure that you remain sovereign to his power, I promise you what may have been meant for evil will always turn out good. And I pray that you were able to see that by way of Kyle's story. So thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you. We appreciate you.
Yeah, I got a story to tell. I know they want me to fail. If they throw me into a cell, I know wife, she paying the bill. Cause I can afford to be quiet. My city is dying and children are crying. Be alert, not devour. The enemy's prowling you just like a lion. But we got the keys, I promise you. Hold on to the peace inside of you. No, I'm not alone. You're not alone. You got an army who follows you. It's time to rise up, lift your eyes up, yeah.